Welcome to Iraqi Dinar News, where you receive real and authentic updates about the Iraqi Dinar. If you want to stay informed with moment-by-moment developments, make sure to subscribe to the channel and like the video. In today's update, we're addressing a statement that has been circulating within the Iraqi Dinar community, suggesting that even individuals without access to a bank should not be concerned because the Central Bank of Iraq is expected to have hundreds and hundreds of private banks all around the world available for currency exchange. This claim has sparked curiosity, optimism, and also confusion among many dinar holders, especially those trying to understand what it realistically means for the future of the Iraqi currency and its accessibility on a global scale. Let's break this down carefully from a financial and institutional perspective and separate what is plausible from what may be misunderstood or overstated. To begin with, the Central Bank of Iraq plays a critical role in managing Iraq's monetary policy, regulating the banking sector, maintaining currency stability, and overseeing foreign exchange operations. Over the past several years, Iraq has indeed been working toward modernizing its financial system, improving transparency, and strengthening its connections with international banking networks. This includes reforms aimed at complying with global standards related to anti-money laundering, financial reporting, and cross-border payments. However, the idea that the Central Bank of Iraq would directly establish hundreds and hundreds of private banks all around the world, specifically for currency exchange, requires a more grounded interpretation. In reality, central banks do not create private banks in foreign countries. Instead, they work through correspondent banking relationships, international financial institutions, and licensed exchange networks. What is more likely being referred to in such statements is the expansion of Iraq's integration into the global financial system. This can involve partnerships with international banks, the use of foreign exchange platforms, and participation in global payment systems. These mechanisms allow currencies like the Iraqi dinar to be traded, transferred, and exchanged beyond national borders, but always within a structured and regulated framework. For Iraqi dinar holders, especially those outside Iraq, accessibility to exchange services depends largely on whether international banks and licensed currency exchange providers choose to support the dinar. This decision is influenced by factors such as currency convertibility, market demand, liquidity, and regulatory clarity. At present, the Iraqi dinar is not considered a fully freely convertible currency on the global market, which means its availability outside Iraq remains limited. In the short term, this means that most dinar holders should not expect a sudden global rollout of exchange centers or private banks offering easy conversion services worldwide. Financial institutions operate based on risk assessment, compliance requirements, and economic viability. Until Iraq achieves a higher level of financial integration and currency stability, widespread international exchange availability will likely remain gradual rather than immediate. That said, there are ongoing developments within Iraq's financial sector that are worth paying attention to. The country has been working to digitize banking services, expand electronic payment systems, and encourage the use of formal financial channels. These efforts are part of a broader strategy to reduce reliance on cash transactions and bring more economic activity into the regulated banking system. In addition, Iraq has been engaging with international organizations and financial partners to strengthen its economic framework. This includes efforts to stabilize the exchange rate, manage inflation, and improve fiscal discipline. All of these factors contribute to building confidence in the Iraqi dinar over time, which is essential for any currency seeking broader international acceptance. From a long-term perspective, if Iraq continues on this path of reform and successfully enhances its economic stability, there is potential for increased global engagement with its currency. This could eventually lead to more banks and exchange services offering dinar transactions, but this would be a result of market evolution rather than a centralized rollout of private banks by the central bank itself. It's also important to address the emotional aspect behind statements like the one we're analyzing today. Many dinar holders are looking for reassurance, especially when faced with uncertainty about where and how they would exchange their currency if conditions were to change. The idea that you'll be fine and that infrastructure will be widely available can be comforting, but it should be balanced with realistic expectations. Financial systems do not change overnight. Even in cases where a currency becomes more accessible internationally, the process involves regulatory approvals, banking agreements, technological integration, and market adaptation. These are complex steps that take time and coordination across multiple institutions and jurisdictions. Another key point to consider is the role of private banks themselves. Private banks operate independently even when they are licensed and regulated by central authorities. Their participation in foreign exchange activities depends on profitability, demand, and compliance with international standards. Therefore, any expansion in dinar exchange availability would likely come from existing global banks choosing to include the dinar in their offerings, rather than new banks being created specifically for that purpose. For viewers and followers of Iraqi Dinar updates, the takeaway here is to stay focused on verifiable developments. Look at official announcements from the Central Bank of Iraq, monitor changes in exchange rate policy, and pay attention to Iraq's progress in financial reform and international cooperation. These are the indicators that provide meaningful insight into the future of the currency. In the short term, the Iraqi dinar is expected to remain within a managed exchange rate system, with the central bank actively intervening to maintain stability. This approach helps control inflation and ensures predictability within the domestic economy. While it may limit rapid changes in value, it also provides a foundation for gradual economic growth. In the long term, the key drivers of any significant shift in the dinar's international status will be economic diversification, increased oil revenue management efficiency, reduced corruption, and continued banking sector reform. As Iraq strengthens these areas, confidence in its currency can grow, potentially leading to broader acceptance and usability. It's also worth noting that global currency markets are highly competitive and influenced by a wide range of factors, including geopolitical stability, trade balances, and investor sentiment. For the Iraqi dinar to achieve wider global reach, Iraq must position itself as a stable and reliable participant in the international economic system. As always, it's important for dinar holders to approach information critically and avoid relying on unverified claims or assumptions. While optimism can be motivating, it should be grounded in factual analysis and a clear understanding of how financial systems operate. In conclusion, while the idea of widespread global access to private banks for dinar exchange may sound encouraging, it is not aligned with how central banking and international finance function in practice. What is more realistic is a gradual increase in accessibility as Iraq continues to reform its economy and integrate with global financial systems. For now, the focus should remain on real developments, measured progress, and responsible interpretation of information. The Iraqi dinar's journey is closely tied to the country's broader economic transformation, and that process requires patience, discipline, and careful observation. If you want to stay updated with responsible, factual, and professional analysis on the Iraqi dinar and Iraq's economy, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay connected. And as always, this content is for informational purposes only and should not be considered financial advice.